Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Split, a young adult book review podcast for readers and writers. I'm Bryan Cohen, the author of the Ted Saves the World series. That is Robert Scanlon, the author of the Dreamer Chronicles, showing off his fangs. Those are some great fangs there, Robert. How are you doing on this fine February day?
Yes, fresh blood. I mean, sorry. Always good to keep you going all night. Yeah, I'm doing really well, thank you, Brian. Really looking forward to the show as always. You know, we've been reading some really great books along the way, and it's lovely to hear from listeners as well. People have been emailing in book suggestions, and we'll cover that later, of course. But yeah,
Yes.
really, really great. How are you?
Things are good. It's tough. It's cold out. It's a little gray. I think it's been infecting me. It's good though. I mean, we've been social here. We had a Super Bowl party for the big game. We've been trying to watch all the Best Picture nominees for the Oscars. It's been a lot of stuff, but I need to
Oh,
start getting
nice.
more sleep. More sleep would be key. More sleep would be key.
But you've certainly been
Um,
fueling the creative mind.
I have been. I have been. My sleep schedule is actually becoming more vampiric lately because I'm staying up so late. So that's our segue into Vampire Academy, which is our book this week by Rochelle Mead. It was a movie. The movie was widely panned, so I wasn't really sure what to expect with the book, but it was a pleasant surprise, and I'm really excited to talk about it. So, as usual, I'll summarize. We'll talk about it from a reader perspective, a writer perspective, takeaways, and then the prompt of the week. Shall we dance, Robert?
Let's dance. Take it away to the academy.
All right. Rose Hathaway and her best friend Lissa lead a relatively normal life, aside from the fact that Rose is a Dampier bodyguard and Lisa is a Moroi vampire princess. Oh, and the fact that they're on the run from St. Vladimir's Academy, a boarding school for vampires. When St. Vlad's drags them back to school, Rose and Lissa encounter a deadly mystery, forbidden romance, and a secret hundreds of years in the making. If the deadly Strigoi don't kill them, the Academy's ruthless social scene surely will. So, uh, despite the fact that this book took a little bit of time to go beyond just introducing the school, because it was very much a first book, getting into just the description of what's this world and what's going on. When it got past that, I think it was a lot of fun to read. And so much of that is the snarky and likable Rose. When I saw the trailers for the movie, it really focused on Rose, and there were some of the lines that must have been pulled straight from the book because she just looked so fun. Obviously, reviews of the movie haven't been kind and said it was a train wreck, but Rose is really the part of the book that stuck out to me. What do you think?
I think you've nailed it there. And isn't it crazy that we call ourselves the Split? We really should call ourselves the Book Brothers in Full Agreement. And
I know, right?
but yeah, totally. It's one of those. It's a really good read, and it's a really good read because of Rose, and that's pretty much it. And that's fine because she's the protagonist and she's not over snarky, but she's just kind of snarky enough. She's just kind of edgy enough. She's got enough of the teen angsty stuff, but not too much that it just bores you to tears like some YA stuff does.
Yeah.
I remember coming across the movie on a plane actually and thinking, oh, maybe I should watch this. And I started looking at about a minute and oh, God, I can't watch that. That's terrible. So when it was suggested for a review and a book review in our list, oh, really? Okay, I'll try, Brian. I'll try. But actually, it was good fun.
Yeah.
You're right. There's a lot of explanation, isn't there, that has to come through. And I think, we'll talk about it more from a writer's perspective later, but it's kind of nice. In the start, it's a little bit, you read about it and say, oh, I'm a Dampier. What? what's one of them? And luckily I'm reading on the Kindle, so it's got the dictionary thing. You can just hold your finger down on the
Nice.
word, and then it brings up the Wikipedia and the dictionary entries, and you find out that actually Richelle Mead has used some quite well-known literary terms for these vampire types. So I
Yeah,
thought
she
that was
went
good.
deep on that.
She did go deep on that.
Yeah, I on that wavelength, I think the hierarchy of the vampires was interesting. It was a little confusing at times,
Mm,
and the fact that she has done so much research on this, I guess it just goes to show that the way it's been put together in history is confusing, using those Eastern Orthodox, Catholic, et cetera, mythology, all that stuff is just a little strange. And that's fine. I mean, I didn't feel lost.
no,
I
no.
think at points I was just a little confused, and it came clearer as things went on. But you were talking about lots of explanation. We were both talking about that. I think that can also help this
Mm,
series going
mm,
forward too, because it sets up a lot of world for there to be explored. I forget how many books there are in this series. I know it's multiple.
mm.
I believe it's concluded. I don't, because I know she's worked on a different series since then, but there's just a large canvas to play with, which I think is really helpful for these kind of books.
And for anybody aspiring to follow a career path as a YA author, I mean, this is a woman who is currently sitting number one, last I looked yesterday, above Maze Runner in the children's book charts. So,
Nice.
it's obviously taken somewhere. But yeah, I think the series has concluded. There is a lot of exposition in terms of Rose has to explain things to the reader, so you do get a lot of that, not quite breaking of the fourth wall, but you do get a lot of. But I thought it was really well done. There wasn't too much. It's just as you sort of think, yeah, okay, I don't want to hear anymore. Oh, okay, but we're back to the action. Good, thank you.
Yeah.
It was kind of okay. So, but what did you think about Lissa, the character that Rose is supposedly the bodyguard for?
This could be the audiobook performance, but I thought it was well portrayed. I thought it was interesting. I thought that it really was starting to show kind of this dark power that she can tap into towards the end.
Okay.
And I thought that led to, oh, this character is going to have some really interesting stuff to deal
Yes.
with going forward.
Yes. Yes.
And so maybe she wasn't all the way fully baked by the end of book one, but I could see a lot of potential.
Yeah, the thing that was missing for me, I agree with you there. Yeah, so towards the end there, you're definitely starting to see that, oh, there's something deep about this. I just kind of didn't get that. Okay, but why? Why is just she had to have this bodyguard? I understand the Strigoi after them, but why? And what's so special about her? And she seemed a bit wimpy to me. It's like
Oh, she is.
Rose was the
Yeah.
cool character, but this Moroi princess was. Yeah, okay. So what's so special about her? So she can heal
Yeah.
people. So what?
Well, I think all of them have the bodyguards.
Yeah,
So, I mean, she was just one of many who had
yeah.
bodyguards. It's kind of a weird caste system, but let's let's move on to writer's perspective,
Mm,
if I may.
you may.
Um, I'm finding from reading these, now we're on what, book 17 or 18 at this point. I'm finding that mystery is just such an important part of any successful genre YA book. Because the path to learn what makes Lissa's powers, uh, like why they are what they
Yes.
are, what they do.
Yes.
I think that makes this more than Vampire School, the book. And
Yes.
I think that might have been the problem with the movie, is that it was Vampire School, the movie. But really, there's a mystery involved. And I think the mystery is what, uh, in a lot of different books, is what keeps the readers interested.
I agree. Partly my criticism of not understanding enough about Lissa is actually also a positive if it's well written, because it's, well, so why are these Moroi royalty important, and why do they have to be guarded, and why is there a vampire academy, and why do the powers work the way they do, and what's going to happen? So yeah, I do think one of the cardinal rules of any great work of fiction is readers must want to know what happens next. And although this is not necessarily always a fast-paced book, you definitely always want to know what happens next. It was a fun book to come back to reading, that's for sure, or listening, as in your case. So,
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So one of my points is that even though there are a lot of interesting characters, Rose is interesting. I think Dimitri is interesting. A great accent on the audiobook for Dimitri, by the
oh,
way.
good. Oh, that would have made all the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, Christian is great too. But there isn't really a big antagonist to root against for most of the book. You've got your twist at the end of friends become foes, but it's so late in the book that you don't really get that. And I think that if you can have a mystery, but then also have a greater force that you're against, that you want to lose so that your protagonists win, I think that could have given the book a little more. And I mean, Rochelle Mead is a good author. I bet that in later books you've got that, like you probably have some big bad Strigoi that are kicking butt that you want to hate, and they just weren't a part of this one. But yeah, I think an antagonist could have helped raise the stakes.
I totally agree with you. And that's probably why I was thinking, I didn't really understand what Rose's goal was for the fiction arc. So where are we heading with this? Even though I wanted to know what happened next, I think that definitely could have been deepened. So yeah, let's hope that as we read some of the sequels, which I'm sure we will, then we see a whole kind of orc-like army of Strigoi coming on down with some big bad dude woman heading up the force. And a quick note too, as well. This is probably for the older YA audience as well.
Yeah, there's sex, there's language.
Yeah. But for sure, I think any 15, 16-year-old girl and upwards is just gonna love this book. It's
oh yeah,
and it's totally, and they'll find lots of different characters to identify with as well. And for sure, they're either going to fall into the Rose or the Lissa camp.
Oh, for sure, for sure. My last point, from a writer perspective, I think that, when you have a first-person perspective, you have the potential to lose connection with some of what's going on internally with the other characters. That's why this emotional connection where Rose can actually feel Lissa's emotions is so smart. Probably the smartest thing that Mead did with this book. I mean, I looked back to see what the opening line of the book was, and can you even compare this? I felt her fear before I heard her screams. I mean,
it's a great opener, isn't it?
Come on, that is so good. And it brings you in right away, and that's just brilliant. One of those I wish I had thought of it sort of things. So hats off to her, because that really helps to deepen your connection with both of those characters in this book.
Yeah, I think, you're right to point out that literary device that she uses of suddenly being able to see the world through Lissa's eyes, and it does at least bring you somebody else's point of view. It's also convenient at times as well, but I do think that, Rochelle Mead doesn't overplay that, because it can be overdone. For anyone who's read the entire series of Divergent, you'll find that there are many, many times where key information just happens to come across the protagonist's ears, simply because she stumbles across someone having a secret meeting and she manages to overhear them. And it's lame. And so I like the fact that this device of suddenly slipping into Lissa's mind wasn't really lame. It was actually full on, full force, part of the action, important parts of the plot, and not always used as a device to suddenly reveal something or explain the mystery. So yeah, well said. I think that was clever. She's also, I mean, my last point on the writer's perspective is that Rose is a really interesting narrator. I mean, you really do feel like you know her even in this first book. So I can't imagine how that gets through the series. People must grow a great attachment to her as a character, because you not only experience, as you say, through first person what the story is, but you also get her own inner reflections. You get her narration and explanations to the reader about this whole vampire caste system and this crazy idea of transporting, teenage college into a vampire academy. It's and there's training montages, Brian.
There are. I did eat those up. I did eat those up. I love me some training montages.
Do we have takeaways, do you reckon, for this?
I think we do. Would you rather go first or second?
Hey, look, let me go first.
Okay.
Because we mentioned it at the start, but I really, although it threw me a little at first, I really like Rochelle Mead's use of the kind of older terms for those European terms for classic vampire caste systems. It gave the book a literary feel that I really was not expecting. I was expecting this to be like the movie, or the one glimpse that I'd seen of the movie, some kind of very shallow, kind of teenage angsty, I need a boyfriend, but I hate this guy, but he's my boyfriend. I thought it was going to be like that. It's not like that at all. And so, yeah, well done.
Yeah, I totally agree. My first, I guess my only takeaway, I want to point out the mystery thing again. Mystery should be a part of any book, young adult or otherwise. And the more compelling the mystery, the more likely it is that people want to turn the pages. I mean, just look at any big, successful young adult book in the last 20 years, and you will find a mystery, something usually it's something the protagonist is trying to figure out about themselves or about their world. And then over the course of the series, they maybe get breadcrumbs that lead to major points, and then the mystery deepens or whatnot. But the mystery is so key, and I think every writer should aspire to have as compelling a mystery as possible, whether or not your book is an actual mystery book.
Well, that's a very good point, yeah, because this whole idea of you can have a story that appeals to a certain genre, but then you can use devices from other genres. So, there's plenty of detective stories that are set in a science fiction genre, for example. Some wonderful robot stories from Isaac Asimov that would fit that bill. So, yeah, I think you're right there. Don't get stuck on it. And that's a nice segue, actually, to my takeaway, my last takeaway, which is, this might be set in the whole vampire young adult world, but it's a whole lot better read than Twilight. I know I'm going to get
That's a great
savage.
takeaway. We haven't reviewed Twilight yet, have we?
No, we got to put it on there.
Oh, we got to. I actually almost listened to the whole audiobook of the first one on my own. Almost.
Right. But look, I mean, it's a very successful series. It's a major movie series. We had a French au pair stay with us for a while a few years back, and she was so funny because, have you seen Twilight? It's wonderful. Twilight? What's Twilight? Oh, Twilight. Yeah. Yes. No, I haven't seen it. I mean, and she was in her early 20s, loved it.
Wow. Yeah, well, that's the age.
So maybe we have to dress up, and pretend to be.
Great idea. We should sparkle.
Yeah, we should sparkle. Now, we've got a couple of things to mention, though, haven't we, at the end of this particular podcast?
Yeah, well, should I do the prompt first or the announcement?
Yeah, do the prompt first.
Prompt.
People just want to get writing with their own vampire stuff. But,
People want to write. People love writing. Prompt of the week. What is your favorite movie or book monster? Place that creature into a high school setting and develop a hierarchy and mythology for it. How would that book differ from Vampire Academy and why?
That's wonderful. I'm going to write The Blob goes to elementary school.
Bob goes to middle school, yeah. Oh my gosh. He's so fun.
But please do write a response to the
I would love to see someone respond to one of these prompts. You can check it out on the Split bookreviews.com. You can check it out on the Split YouTube channel. And we would just love to hear. You could write the story in a comment below one of those two settings. We'd love to hear your take on one of these. We haven't seen any yet, so we would love to have one so that we can point you to it so that you go for it.
Yeah, nice prompt. Very nice. But people are talking to us. People are definitely
People are
responding.
people are starting to talk.
So maybe
People are starting to talk.
I reckon we got that secret, Stephen King or J.K. Rowling is just, they're taking all your prompts and there's just going to be this mega new Tolkien-esque major epic. It's going to get posted in our comments first.
Ooh, that sounds like a great thing. I hope we have our character limits disabled.
Yes.
So our odds and ends, we've got some odds and ends. We need to talk about what the next show is going to be. And what else do we need to say?
Well, we need to thank people for sending in book ideas, book suggestions, and that kind of relates to what we have next show as well, doesn't it? So thanks to Haley for suggesting that it would be a great idea to preview what the next show is. So Bryan, the next show we're going to be reviewing...
We're going to talk about Meta by Tom Reynolds, which is really our first indie title I'm really excited about. And that was suggested to us by Kevin Chapman. So thank you, Kevin. We're really excited to talk about Meta, and it's in my genre, my superhero genre. So I'll definitely have some opinions on it. But yeah, please email us on the contact form at thesplitbookreviews.com because we don't know all the books. We just don't. So we need you to tell us about what books are and how to read them.
Exactly. How do we know which words are the best words? All that kind of thing.
Yeah, we need to know. Cellar door is apparently very beautiful as 2 words. That's what people say.
Excellent.
But yes. So good stuff. Great show, Robert.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you for listening to The Split. Please review us on iTunes or share us on YouTube. Give us likes and whatnot. And we would love to hear from you. Shoot us an email whenever you can. That was The Split. We're very excited for all future episodes. Check us out every week on Wednesday, and we will see you next week.
We will see you next week. And if you haven't checked out our very, very silly thumbnails on YouTube, you really want to take a look at those as well, because they're worth sharing on Facebook or Pinterest. Most of the time, we try and make one of us look really stupid, and I think that's, an easy job. We probably succeed.
If you want to see us look stupid, go to the YouTube channel.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you guys for watching. Somewhere on this page is a subscribe button to the Split channel. We do reviews every week. We would love it if you followed us every single week. Isn't that right, Robert?
That's exactly right. Follow us now. Hit the subscribe button.
Do it.